Hey everybody, how's it going? Mount Calvary Church, Mount Calvary Christian School students, Mr. Allett with you again. Happy to be back with you as we continue our study through 1 Corinthians. Our passage today is 1 Corinthians 7, 25 through 40. We're going to finish chapter 7 today. So please feel free to pause the video, take a few moments and read 1 Corinthians 7, 25 through 40. Go ahead. And welcome back. As we get started today, the main question I want to ask you is this. Are you content being single? Are you content being single? We live in a world and a culture today that puts a high emphasis on being in a relationship, whether it be dating, engaged, or married. It just seems like that is something that is always on the forefront of everyone's minds. And it's true even in Christian culture, where there's this longing, this desire to have someone who you are close with and have a connection with. And Paul says some things in this passage to indicate that that is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not evil to want to be married someday. But Paul says some interesting things in regards to one's ability in serving God, especially while being single. So as you are reading, you should have read some things that Paul says here in this section. I want to focus in on verse 32 and following. Listen to what it says. I would like you to be free from concern. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife, and his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. I am saying this for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. And so Paul's message is clear. He is saying that when a person gets married, they now have a responsibility to care for their spouse. When they have children, they have a responsibility to care for those children. And what it ends up doing is it divides attention. I've said this in Bible class before, but if I did not have a wife, if I did not have children, I would be a better Bible teacher. I would have more time to devote to the craft of teaching. I would be a more devoted follower of Jesus. I would have more time to minister to other people, to engage with students. Now, obviously, my wife and children are not a bad thing. That's not what Paul is saying. But what he is saying is that in a society and even in a church culture where it's all about, oh, I got to get married, I got to get married, I got to get married, we don't celebrate singleness, because singleness is an opportunity to be totally focused on God. I remember a guest speaker when I was in college. Each week during chapel on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we would have a guest speaker come in, usually a pastor, graduate of the school, whatever, who would come in and share a 3 sermon series each week. Monday, our president would speak, and then Friday was a special chapel, sometimes small groups or class or whatever. Now, I don't entirely remember the guy's name, but I remember that he was pretty unique in that he was a senior pastor who was single. And he shared stories, and I had some opportunity to interact with him a little bit after speaking in chapel, because he was able to so connect with his people. His people loved him. Whenever somebody had a need, he more often than not was available to go and help. He didn't have to say no or put something off. If someone invited him out for a meal or to their house for lunch, he was free because he didn't have plans with his family. And so he was able to really minister to that church body because of his singleness. And so I really want us to think about today, do we celebrate our singleness? Are you taking advantage of being single? Now, if you're in a dating relationship, right, Paul says, hey, stay where you are, be content, continue to grow and cultivate that. Certainly for married, faculty and staff who might be watching this, obviously God wants us to stay married. We've talked about that the last couple of days as we talked about purity and marriage, etc. But for those of you who are single, take advantage of the opportunity that God has given you to grow closer to Him, to minister to others without the distraction, although it can be a positive thing, but without the distraction of having someone like that in your life. And maybe thinking about your future, God is calling you to be single and to have a tremendous ministry for Him in that singleness. That would be a great thing. And so I hope that as you watch, as you now go and meditate and reflect and pray about this, maybe think, okay, is God calling me to be single? And something else to consider. Let's have a culture that doesn't look down on someone or put pressure on someone to enter into a dating relationship. Instead, let's celebrate the relationships and friendships we have and continue to cultivate our relationship with God, which is the most important one. I'm praying for you guys. I miss you all very much. And I hope that you will take some time now to pray and to meditate on these things. Are you content with where God has you, especially if that is being single? We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.